right as soon as I get a confirmation that we are on. So let's check this out real quick. All right, looks like we're working. A little delay, but all looks good so far. So what's up, everyone? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan here. Most of my videos, I have a purpose point, but I wanted to get with you guys live to take your questions. So we're doing a little Q&A. Summer Hill, what up? So really quickly, some of you were proactive, so I want to reward that. So I got some of your questions via email. So I'm going to start this off while people are logging in by answering those questions. But at the same time, the purpose of this whole segment was to ensure that I get your questions live. So I had a couple of devices going on, and like I said, it's the first time for me, so bear with me a little bit. But whenever you guys are ready, just go ahead and hook it up, and let's start answering some questions. We're already in June, and we're halfway through the year, so I definitely want everyone to be ending on a successful note. All right, so on that note, I'm going to give it like 2 more minutes in case cats are still kind of logging on and all that good stuff. And then we'll start jumping into these questions. So we got Drizzy, Trell, what up, what up? What's up, everyone? I'm trying to figure out the comments. I can see your comments on Instagram, Facebook. Can you guys shoot me some comments? Make sure you can hear me, please. Also, if you guys have access or you want to check out YouTube, you're probably going to get the best audio because I get the mic working there. All right, so let me open up the YouTube stream. Sorry, I know this is a long intro, but part of it is I'm waiting for people to kind of get up in here. All right, cool. I got Andre here. What's up? Not a student, listen to you all the time. Hey, man, if you listen to me and it helps, you're a student. You don't have to be official in the program. I have many people I look up to as mentors, and I'm a student of theirs. So I definitely appreciate that, man. That's awesome. Hey, what's up? What's up? All right. So while people are signing on, I kind of was hoping that some people, while I was answering their questions, would be here. But worst case, they catch it on the replay. So you guys are here. I want to respect your time and thank you for being here on time. So let's get it. All right. I'm gonna start with these emails. Okay. So first one, we got Larry Hill, no relation. Larry wants a copy of a real estate joint venture contract. Hey, man, just go to my website, wholesalingwithmike.com. Click on the middle. It's going to say free and downloadable resources. Hit that up, and you can download a free JV contract there, and it'll also have instructions on how to fill that out. It's a nice, easy one. I like that. All right, next. Christina says, appreciate your willingness to share. Appreciate your willingness to check content. Do you have opportunities for your students in various locations to get together and rub shoulders? Face-to-face engagement might help some of us who might like to reach out to someone nearby. So question is, I have students kind of from all over the country. So the place where we kind of get together is in my Facebook group. I've been posting a couple of live sessions from within there. Charles, what up, man? And so I always think face-to-face is best. I really like face-to-face interactions. It makes it so much stronger. Maybe I'm a little bit old school like that. So I think it's the best place to go. But, it's not, the situation is not always ideal. There's definitely a convenience to online stuff. So I definitely recommend for within your own networks for you guys to check out meetup.com, search for the local RIA meeting, and definitely try to bump heads and rub shoulders with people in there. Students in my program, we got our private mastermind Facebook group. See more engagement and action there. So students in my program can interact there and ask questions and do things there. And then as far as, everyone else, that's a great idea. I would like to do that. And I'm probably going to start doing a lot more engagement on my personal or my business Facebook page. So definitely check that out. That's at /investing with Mike. All right. So, all right, next one, Andre. Oh, cool. Okay, this is Andre. He's actually one of my students. So first question, can we network and JV between other members in the Facebook group? Absolutely. That's a huge part of this. I want you guys doing, look, if you do deals with me, that's awesome. I get paid. I love it. I'm not shy about that. But at the same time, if you guys do joint venture deals together, that is freaking awesome. And let me tell you, when I started my mentoring program with my coach, Lex is awesome, dude. Lex, all good things to say about him. He wants to see me successful, all his students successful. That's awesome. But afterwards, I actually joined some other mentoring groups, not because I needed more info. Lex actually gave me all the info and all the support that I needed. But I did join some other mentoring groups just to get access to their buyers list. And what I found out after the fact is once I sent them a deal, they would send it to their buyers. But they had a contract such that if they send it to their buyers, they just sent it out, didn't find a buyer, and I found my own buyer, I still had to split the deal with them. I didn't like that. So I didn't really continue with that. And I don't want to do that in my program or with anybody. So if you guys work together, that's awesome. Only time I'm getting paid is when I produce results. I like to be very much results oriented. So if I find your buyer, we'll split it 50-50. You find your own buyer, you keep 100%. You split it with anybody else, JVs, whatever. I'll still help you, coach you through it. For my students, live coach you through it, and you guys do it. You keep that, man. That's all yours. You're doing your thing. Jake, what's up, man? Long time. I hope to see you soon, hopefully. Somebody's calling me. How disrespectful. All right, next, should I stay away from 55 plus communities since that limits the buyers? It absolutely does limit the buyers. There's definitely a smaller buyer pool. I wouldn't say stick away from it. I do have buyers that buy in 55 plus, but the pool of buyers is a little bit smaller. What I will say is when you are bidding on these 55 plus communities, try to keep the contingencies on the more, the side that's more pro you, meaning 55 plus, it might take a little bit longer to market, might be a little bit harder to get buyers into and stuff like that. So, you're going to want to get at least that 7-day inspection period. There's some deals where I say 7-day inspection period, and then the agent or the seller, whoever, is just like, no, I'm not going to do that. They may even request a 0-day inspection. But if I know it's a hot deal, then I'll give in a little bit. I'll say, okay, give me 5 days, give me 3 days. With the 55 plus, if you have no option, it's better to try than not try. But in general, try not to do that because it is a little bit harder. I'm just going to get this email and then I'm going to come back to the live. There are a couple in here. How do I go around a listing agent that wants a 0-day inspection? I get this one all the time. I have a lot of students. Matter of fact, who was it that gave me? I think it was Travis. One of my students had something where an agent said that to him maybe 3-4 days ago. When we only take 0-day inspection. Guys, that's not a done deal. Part of this is negotiating. So there's two parts to this. Number one, I personally don't recommend taking anything with a 0-day inspection. You can, but realize you're taking risks. So a couple things. If you want to, it should be one of those things where you just know, like, yo, I got this. I got a buyer for it. I got, Mr. Smith that buys in this community, this thing every time I put it out. You could also do it if you have a very, very low deposit. So if you have like $100 deposit, then go ahead. Worst case, you lose $100. And then the other way is going to be a little bit more, it's probably not the proper way. It's probably like a little sketch, not the, I don't want to say ethical, not the best way to do it, but it's basically, let's say you have $1,000 deposit. Now that deposit's due. You can sign the contract. It's a legally binding contract. So you are liable. If there's 0-day inspection, there's no exit clause. You cannot get that back. Now you could, I'm not telling you what to do, but you could just not put up the deposit. And then, there might be 3 days or so where they're kind of asking for it and you just don't put it up and see if you can find a buyer in that time. Now, here's the thing. I'm not telling you guys to do this, but if you do it, you're liable for that deposit, even if you don't send it. So these people, the seller, whoever, could technically come after you. They could sue you for failure to perform on the contract. And if they win, you owe them $1,000. Now you got to ask yourself, are most people going to take you to court? Are they going to file the fees? Are they going to pay? Are they going to do all that shit to get $1,000? In my experience, most of the time they won't. But again, that's completely your risk. Now, what I do recommend is that just go back to them, man. And a big part of it, and this is what I talk with my students about a lot, is framing, man. Like really framing yourself from the beginning of the interaction as that dominant figure, as the buyer, as the one who's calling the shots. Because here's the thing, guys, if you're coming in as a brand new wholesaler and you're coming in very meek and very apologetic and asking, like, let's say a lot of questions and stuff like that, they're going to treat you very differently, you know what I'm saying, from the way Let's say if you were a real estate investor with $1 million in the bank, let's say a Donald Trump, pre-presidency, like a real estate investor, Trump comes in, they're not going to be harassing you for proof of funds, and I'll be harassing you for earnest money deposit, and you're not going to be up your ass about these things. So a lot of times, look, they say 0-day inspection. It won't always work. Like sometimes you just come back to them and you say, well, I appreciate that. Check that out. We're looking at 10 other deals right now. We never signed anything with 0-day inspection. I'm not asking for anything unreasonable here. I'm not asking for 10, 14 days. I just need 5 days in there. I want to get in there. If there's anything that really, needs a second opinion, if it's plumbing, electric, I would like an extra day to get my electric guy, to get my roof guy in there. So can you do 5 days? And you ask them that. And then you also phrase it in such a way that, look, it's my precedent. It is my, my rule, it's my SOP, it's my standard operating procedure that I don't do 0-day inspections. The same with Travis. And then that's why follow-up is so important, guys, because what Travis told me, like I said, maybe 4 days ago, this dude said 0-day inspection. And then we talked about framing and coming across as the shot caller and different ways you can kind of embed that in the psychology. And then also another point, like you're dealing with some of these guys, you have options. Some of you just getting started don't see it, but like from a mindset point of view, you know what I'm saying? Like you could come in there and be like, I'm looking at 100 different properties. You're a seller. You got one property to sell. If you're dealing with a listing agent, look, most of these guys, they run around with buyers who ain't buying shit, or they have a buyer's agent come in, and so they have to split 3%. The average homeowner is buying a house to live in, maybe not an investment, so they're buying 1 or 2 times. You're coming at these people, you say, look, I know you want 0-day inspection, but check it out. Your shit's been on the market for fucking 200 days. You ain't sold shit. So I'm just asking for 5 days. What's 5 more days? I'm serious. If you give me a good price and I like this, not only am I going to buy it from you, I take care of the paperwork, make it nice and easy. You don't have to show me shit. I'll show up on my own. I'm not bringing other buyer's agents to take half your commission. And if you make this shit work for me, I'll come back. I'll buy 2 of these from you for a month. So now what's your value? The average person that they're saying 0-day inspection only ain't bringing them shit but headaches. You come in and you're telling them, hey, I can do these 2 a month. I can bring you 24 of these with no headache, no hassle, cash only, quick closing. And we do that all day, baby. I just need that 5-day inspection. All right, so that's that. I've seen a few listings that say buyers pays all closing costs. Does that mean I also pay the seller's closing costs? So yeah, in most cases, you're going to pay the seller's closing costs. That's detailed on your contract already. If you want, you can write into the addendum or additional comment to specify, because sometimes it can be gray area. I just had a deal about 2 weeks ago where it was a short sale. And so it said buyer pays all costs. And then it was a short sale. So there was a short sale negotiation fee of $2,500. Then when we go to sell it, the buyer, my end buyer, he signed the contract and everything. He was good to go. And they come to find out when we get to the closing table, like day of closing, he's like, I'm not paying that fee. And usually I'd have a backup or something, but I didn't. I had to just eat that cost. So it was a student of mine, actually, we're splitting the deal. And we just had to eat that cost. So it kind of sucked in the moment. We should have specified. But also just really quickly, what that means is you're paying the closing costs. Those are usually detailed on the contract, so you know exactly what you're paying for. It's like doc stamps and fees and stuff like that. But you're not paying the seller commission. Seller commission is fucking expensive, man. It's like 6%. So you're not paying that, just to be clear. Easy way, and next question, is there an easy way to calculate the closing costs? There is. You can find apps, an app store. If you're an iPhone user, get some standards in your life, but I'm sure they have something here. And if you have, if you respect yourself and you're an Android user, there's a lot of shit in the Play Store. Here in Florida, I use the closing calculator from title company, which is Independence Title. You can hit them up. It's in the store. I don't remember what it's called. Its price says Independence, but I'll post a link after the replay or something. But if you go to their website, titlerate.com, you can download it there, or they'll send a link to your phone. All right, so that's the email, guys. I know there's some live stuff coming in, so I'm just going to scroll up, see if we get some cool questions there. So make sure I get to your live stuff. Where am I wholesaling now? I'm wholesaling out of Palm Beach. I live in Palm Beach, Florida. I do deals all across anywhere in Florida state, but the majority of my business is Southeast Florida. So that's going to be Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County. Tips on virtual wholesaling. I'm into that right now. Yeah, man, we can give you tips on virtual wholesaling. If you could be a little bit more specific, that would help. One thing that really helps, you don't need to have boots on the ground, but it really does help. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. If you have someone who can, go see a property for you, take pictures for you, stuff like that. It really helps if they have buyers there already, stuff like that. But shoot me some more details. All right, let's see. Cash buyer list, cool. How do I find the info of cash buyers from the list you sent me? I made a video on it, man. Check out my YouTube channel. It's the latest one. It says how to connect with cash buyers. But basically, you know, everybody kind of wants the easy way. They want the emails or phone numbers. I'm not deterring you. You can do it. Just throw it out there if it's available. But a lot of times that information isn't as solid. It might come from skip tracing or some shit like that. The information I get is it's basically when someone buys a property, they have to put their mailing address for like the tax man and their deeds and all that stuff. So that's a legit, reliable address. And then so I do direct mail. I send them direct mail. And then the ones that, it's another way to filter for serious buyers, because when they hit me back, I know that they're willing to buy. But check the video there. It goes into a lot more details, like 30 minutes long on exactly how I do it. What is 55 plus? Those are communities. They're very common down here in South Florida. Oh, thank you, Rosabella, some who already answered it, but it's where the owner has to be 55 years and up. Wagwan, what up? You get any deals using Facebook ads? So check it, man. Facebook ads is very new to me. I've used it kind of just to kind of promote my YouTube channel and stuff like that. I have not used it for finding motivated sellers, something I'm very, very interested on. I'm working on it. I don't teach anything that I can't show that produces results. And one thing I know about Facebook ads is that if you want to find out what works, you got to throw money at that shit. If you're working with like a $50 budget a day, it's probably not going to work for you. But I've been reading. I've been working with some cats with some interesting stuff. I can't teach it until I see results, but I'm definitely very much interested in it. So when I figure it out, I make that video ASAP and I'll let you know. All right, so let's see. Step-by-step checklist when flipping houses. It's a good concept. What I find is like there's a standard kind of checklist, but to a degree, every deal is a little bit different. What I would say, check my website. I got some resources on there, and I could probably put together something like that if you just want like a PDF or something. That's a good idea. But again, wholesalingonmike.com. I got a couple other resources that are not available, you know, on YouTube or on my Facebook or anything like that. All right, next. Hey, thank you guys for signing on. This is my first live session. I think this is pretty cool. I get a little more free time now in the summer, and sorry, I'm reading and talking at the same time. I'm going to be doing these more often. I think 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kind of works best for me as of right now. But I will, you know, send these alerts and stuff like that out. What happened to the questionnaire? I'm assuming you probably mean the one-on-one coaching stuff, guys. I put that out there. I have over 600 requests. They're pretty lengthy because most people are asking like 5 questions. And when I get on the phone, we just talk. So I'm trying to get through those realistically. I'm not going to get to everybody, but what I'm going to do is start pulling them up for the benefit of everyone, because a point of that was to record them for to share on the YouTube channel anyway. And so a lot of those calls, there were times where I was just driving in the car and just made the call and stuff like that. So I didn't even get them. And of the 600, I probably made like 40 or something like that. So I appreciate you guys going there and filling it out. I'm still going to get to you. It might take me months or something like that. But what I'll do is in these live sessions, I will just pull up some of those emails if we don't have like live questions, and I'll just rip through those questions as fast as I can. What are your thoughts on my mini bandit signs card? All right, this is something I'm actually going to email you about. One thing I'll say, guys, okay, so someone emailed me a picture of their card, and it says, you know, $500 for referrals. Now, to give a referral for a real estate deal is illegal. It's technically illegal. So I'm not telling you what I do. I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm telling you it's not legal. I'm telling you there are people, some people who do it because it's works, right? And so you have to decide what is your comfort level with some of these things. So for example, bandit signs, those signs, whether it says we buy houses in the ground, or it says like $500 mattress stuck in the ground, or it says, you know, stop foreclosure, or whatever shit people are putting on telephone poles. Yo, that shit's all illegal. But, you know, are you willing to get fined? I know a dude who goes to the Dade RIA, He says he pays like $2,000 in fines to put up his bandit signs, but he makes over 10K on them every month. So he just keeps doing it. So, you know, it's completely up to you guys. But if you're putting out cards like this and liability something, it's very much a gray area. I might not use the term referral. You might just want to pay, say like, I don't know, tell me about a house and receive $500. And it's a little bit more ambiguous. And then there are times where I've paid referral fees. You know, you try to keep it like off the HUD or anything like that. But if you're signing contracts, I call it like a marketing fee, a consulting fee, a procurement fee, or something like that, just to try to mitigate my, I mean, not mine, but, you know, whoever might be doing that thing. All right. Ken, Facebook ads work when you upload the address. Yeah, that's what I'm looking to do, man. I just haven't been able to verify it yet, but I'm aware of that strategy. Basically, Facebook is so freaking advanced. You can actually pop in addresses and show it to those people. So I'm assuming that the geolocating and how they do that is legit. I don't have the results to show you yet, but as soon as I do, you know, I'll be happy to share that with you guys. Mike, for calculating ARV on a property, do you use square foot average or sold cost average of the comp homes? All right, so the way I look at ARV is it's way, way overrated. You guys have probably heard my rant on this, but I mean, as far as wholesaling, right? If you're looking to hold this thing or fix and flip, your ARV got to be completely on point. But what I advocate in my style, especially because I work with a lot of very new people, is that you got to spend way too much time on this. And when people are new, they're not making as many offers as they should be making, right? And the reason is because they're looking too much into all these details, ARV and all this stuff, right? So when you calculate an ARV, if you're doing like a quick comp method, you want stuff like in the same, basically the same subdivision, right? And if you don't want to go through and look it up on the appraiser site or something like that, if you're just looking at Zillow, let's say like that map view of sold houses, again, not for sale, that's shit, but where it says like actual, what is my man? What up, Chris? Absolutely. Let's do it. Is that Christian, right? Yeah. I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. So the subdivision thing, right? Even if it's not exact, a lot of subdivisions, they're divided by like major highways, major roads, railroad stations. So typically if you look on like a satellite view, you could get a decent idea, you know what I'm saying? And then you can just look at, let's say if you're on Zillow, you can look to make sure the buildings look similar. You know what I'm saying? If you see the vinyl shit running across, it's probably a wood frame house versus, you know, CBS, concrete block, you know, so that's something to take into account. Let's see, what else? Make sure you're looking at like houses, single family houses, as opposed to, you can't compare like a single family house and a condo, you know, even though the proximity is right. So really you would look at that for starters. And a lot of times if they're all around the same number, you don't really have to dig much deeper than that. But if you're really trying to get in tight on the numbers, you would look at the square foot. And I wouldn't say the square foot, you don't take the average of the comps, right? Because one could be bigger, but you break it down. Let's say if a house sold for, you know, $100,000 and it's 1,000 square feet, then you do the math and say the what I say, 100,000, it's $100 per square foot or whatever it is. Maybe I messed that math up. Right, and the square footage you're looking at gotta be under air. Okay, so you're not looking at stuff like the lot size or anything like that. So that's how you're gonna come up with the ARV. But remember, so often that ARV formula, you know, the ARV times 70% times minus the repairs, minus your profit. That is the ideal formula. Now, look, that is true. That is 100% true. What I'm saying is, and this has been misunderstood on a lot of videos, is that if you don't hit that number exactly, it doesn't mean the deal is dead. A deal does not end the negotiation when you sign the contract. There's sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you just can't hit that number with the seller or listing agent from the jump. You know what I'm saying? So you might have to offer a little bit high. It might be competitive. You're dealing with different types of buyers. Some people using hard money, they're paying 4 points, they're paying 15%. You know, they can't buy at as high of a price with some guy that just got 100,000 in the bank. Likewise, there are people who buy international, who just want real estate who want US real estate. So there's a lot of different reasons people buy, and there's a lot of negotiation you can do after you get the contract and get control. So my point is, yes, that formula about ARV, it's legit, but that's the ideal way to do it. And if you can't hit that number like straight off, that's okay. you can still do the deal, get that contract first. When you have a property on a contract from Zillow, should the asking price for the buyer be lower than the asking price on Zillow? In general, I say yes. And remember, guys, there's an exception to pretty much anything I say. If anybody tells you, there's one way to do shit and that's like kind of the only way, it's false, right? So now I'm forgetting the question. Yeah, it should be lower because here's the thing. Most buyers are savvy, right? So if you send me a deal, right, and I know you're a wholesaler and you have it and you're trying to sell it to me for 100,000. If I'm not, I'm a buyer, I'm looking for a deal, so I don't have to buy that deal. I probably got 100 wholesalers selling me deals. So the first thing I'm going to do is Google search the property. So if I type that property into Google and it pops up for $90,000, most of the time, I'm just going to put a backup contract in with the listing agent. If you sell it, you sell it. It's no loss to me. But then if you don't sell it, I know you're going to cancel your contract probably within 5 to 7 days. And then I'm next in line. And that also tells me what you probably have it under contract for. So I just get it that way. Now, there are a couple exceptions to that rule. So sometimes it's just a killer deal where let's say it's worth $200,000. For some reason, let's say it's advertised on Zillow for 100, maybe they list it low to try to get a lot of interest, and then you end up getting it for 110, and then you try to sell it for 120. Well, if it's worth 200, then yeah, you're gonna have buyers, because again, think about it from the mind of a buyer. They're gonna know, if I put a backup contract, this guy's probably gonna be able to sell it. It's not gonna get canceled. So in that case, yes, you're gonna go ahead and you can do it that way. Another exception is a lot of things you'll see on Zillow in particular are going to be unapproved short sales. So the listing price will maybe come up at, let's say, again, back to if the house is worth 200, it might come up as 100, or it could be like some of these auction properties or whatever that, and it's like the starting price, or it's an unapproved short sale. And most buyers understand the process of a short sale, so they know you got to go. A lot of offers are competing. Everyone's asking for highest and best, and then the bank has to approve it, and so on and so forth. So in that situation, it pops up very, very low. And I tell my students, when bidding on those unapproved short sales, that's one of the only times I recommend actually going in at that list price or whatever, because like I said, they ask for highest and best. And, most buyers know the deal about how short sales work and so on and so forth. So in those cases, yeah, then you can probably offer the price for higher than it's listed on Zillow. So in general, the response is no, don't do that, just because it doesn't make sense unless it's like a really good deal and the numbers really make sense. So hopefully that helps. I'm broke. I want to get into REO. Where do I start? So when you say you're broke, want to get to REO, I don't know if that means you want to get into REO flipping, like bank-owned properties, or if you want to get to real estate investing. So real estate investing, yeah, start off with wholesaling. I got a lot of videos on my channel, so it's kind of a loaded question. In a minute, a lot of people do ask me, if I'm a rookie, where should I start? I give you that in 1 second. But if you're talking about REOs, the bank-owned properties, they're great sources of deals. There's certain things that can be not even an advanced level, but it helps if you have some experience. For example, like they do typically want a higher earnest money deposit. You don't always have to come up with that. There are ways to get around it. Like if you're doing deals in Florida, for example, I have all my students put every contract into a land trust. So even if the contract is not assignable, pretty much every REO is not assignable. You can still do an assignment of not the contract, but of the land trust. So it's basically like the owner doesn't change. The owner is the trust. The owner of the property is the trust. So that never changes. So it's not an assignment, but the owner of the trust changes, if that makes sense. So you can still do REOs. You can bid on them. A lot of them ask for proof of funds. So that's where they can be a little bit harder. Some of them have things like deed restrictions, meaning you can't resell for higher than, typically it's like 120% in 90 days is what's most common. So it's not exactly the best beginner strategy, but you can. And with certain things like these proof of funds and earnest money deposit, it depends on the bank. Like some banks are really hell to deal with, like Bank of America is a pain in the ass, but like Deutsche Bank, a little bit like more lax in the sense that if they ask for proof of funds and you pull one of these like, you go to like free POF sites or whatever. I get a video with a couple of those links. Some banks will take it. The listing agent will just push it through. An asset manager, they'll just take it. And part of that is it's just chance. You got to try. A lot of them won't, so you kind of actually have to have proof of funds, but there are other options. Like, you guys got to get a little bit creative. For example, I made a video recently. You can go to some of these hard money lenders and be like, look, I'm a wholesaler. I get a lot of investors coming to me for properties. I will refer them to you. But in the meantime, could you help me get some deals? Because by helping me, put it in other people's best interest, guys. You gotta start thinking about that in everything that you do. So it's like, if you help me to help you, you know what I'm saying? Like with the proof of funds letter, I can shoot more business your way. And then they usually send you a proof of funds letter, which is in a lot of cases basically just like a pre-approval for a hard money loan, but it works a good amount of the time. And the thing is, people ask me like, what? Well, that doesn't always work. Or I submit a pre-OF and it didn't work. It's like, guys, it's not gonna work every time, right? It's not, but it doesn't need to work every time. You know what I'm saying? You put out 100 offers. If 99 of them go to shit and they fail, you just need one to clear. You get one, you get 10 grand. You do that once a month. You are a 6-figure income earner, failing 99% of the time. So, that's how that goes. So hopefully that answers your question. Then about where to start if you're a rookie wholesaler, there's two things. I think first I would start with is getting a feel for what you're doing and your market. So I would recommend you go like Google search. Anytime you pass a bandit sign with a number on it, call it, and get on every wholesaler's buyer's list. That's how I did my first deal. I actually JV'd with another wholesaler. He had a property that he was trying to sell. So I got on every wholesaler's buyer's list in my area, and I would call these dudes and be like, hey, if I find you a buyer, we split the deal with me. And most of them, I get emails or calls like that every day, and I don't deter that. Like, if someone could do that for me, that's awesome. I just find like most people, they just quit really early. So most people that say that to me, I'm like, sure, but I don't count on it. I assume they're not going to follow through because that's been my experience. And that was kind of the reaction I got. So you just got to be ready for that reaction. But then if someone says, yes, take your property and advertise it everywhere, like everywhere. And then if you find a buyer, just sign a JV contract, get it in writing, and that's how you can do your first deal. But it also gives you a good feel for your market. You see all the inventory coming in. It's also a feed of inventory. So if you can start marketing to buyers, you can just post Craigslist ad over and over and over and over. I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? So you could just do that, and you'll probably get a hit, but it's got to be consistent. And then you have a steady flow of inventory, and then you're also seeing what's working in the market. What are the deals that are selling? What are the price points that need to be at? And then also part of it is like you're forming relationships with wholesalers. It's a very much a relationship building business. Like, people overlook the networking piece of this like quite a bit. So I'd say that's a good way to start. And there's more info, like I said, on my website, wholesalingmike.com. And I get this a lot, so I'll actually put together maybe something a little bit more brief, maybe a video, actually probably be best, but maybe like a blog post or something. But it's going to be a longer answer, so I'm going to get to a couple more of these questions. So yeah, look for that on the site or on the YouTube site. All right, so let's see. Let's see a couple. All right, let me switch over to where you guys are over here. All right, Mike, when wholesaling, if I get a house under contract and end up not finding someone to buy it, how would I get out of the contract? All right, so typically it all depends on how you write up your contract. So that's one thing I teach, is basically like some of the different exit clauses and different clauses and protections. I actually got a PDF again on my website. It's called Ironclad Contract Clauses. You guys should check it out. It's like 35 different clauses you can put into your contracts for both buying and selling to protect you. And then it gives you the exact thing that you can copy and paste in there. And then it tells you like why that works. So in most cases, like the inspection period is kind of the go-to thing. Basically says during my inspection, I can cancel for any reason and get my deposit back. And most times I don't even recommend putting up the deposit until you find an in buyer. Also in some states, like here in Florida, it says at buyer's sole discretion, which basically means I don't like the color of the house, I'm not buying it, right? And that's best. There's some states that are really strict, like I think Virginia might be one, where it basically says like for the inspection period, like you have to have like a licensed contractor or licensed person go in there and do the inspection. And if you don't want it, you have to show proof of the report or something like that. But realize that's just the default. So you can go and write in the contract, you could, whatever you write in there, addendum, whatever, inspection at buyer's sole discretion, basically, meaning, like I said, if you don't like it for whatever reason, you can cancel. So if you do that, that's how you can get out of it. But at the same time, like I said, if you're dealing with a direct seller, an individual seller, you're only doing one deal with them. So it's not like you're doing multiple deals with them. So if you walk away from the deal, it's not something that's like going to hurt your reputation. But at the same time, this is probably someone who's motivated and kind of distressed. So you don't want to like screw anybody either. So, you know, you want to be smart with your offers. And if you really doesn't look like you can sell it, you kind of want to talk to them, or I'll tell you what to say in just a second. But kind of what I'm saying is, like, you don't really want to cancel at the last minute, even if you can, especially if you know this person's like under the gun, like time wise. You might want to go back to them and you could give them an excuse or tell them your story, or be once you're under contract, you know, and basically go back and try to get a price reduction. A lot of times you can't sell it strictly just because your price is too high, right? And so a lot of times, so I was saying earlier with the ARV thing, it's like you might go in a little bit high, you put it to the market. The market is going to tell you what the market will pay for it. And then you go back and you say, hey, during my inspection, I found out XYZ. And I got videos on this on my channel. And, you know, I'm not going to be able to do the deal at, you know, with this price at 80,000. So if you can sell it for that, you know, you might want to do that. But if you can meet me at 70,000, you know, ideally I'd want to pay 60, but if you meet me at 70, we can still make this happen. Right. And so if you do it that way, you know, if you can't find a deal, like I said, you probably just too high, but don't kill it. Don't be dead on the deal. Just go back and try to renegotiate. And then also it's like you're putting the ball in their court. So it's not so much like I can't do the deal. It's like, hey, I made a couple errors. Maybe I didn't see this comp, that comp. Maybe I didn't realize it needed this much repair, this much work. You know, again, our contract was based on an inspection contingency. So I can buy it, but I need it to be at a lower price. And then you're giving the ball back to them. So really, it's not like I'm canceling the deal. It's more like I'm giving the ball back to you. You tell me if you can make it lower, you know, I'll close. But if you can't, then it's kind of on you, right? So that's kind of how I would put it. I know you have an inspection period, but when does that begin and end? So there's no, so basically that's something you write into the contract. Some states have a default, right? So the Florida state, it's just a blank line, and I think our default says 14 days. California is like 17 days, but you write it in. Now the thing is, you want to get as long of an inspection period as possible. So if you're dealing with a direct seller, you should be asking for 21 to 30 days, I think, is a good starting point to at least ask for. And then remember, if you get close to the end of an inspection period, but maybe there's interest or there's some buyers who maybe just couldn't make it in or whatever, you can always ask. What I'm saying, negotiation does not end when the contract signs. You could just say, hey, I had to run out of town, whatever, my GC's not out of town, blah, blah, blah. Or you could just not give a reason at all and just be like, look, I need an extension of the inspection period. And you could ask for more. As long as they sign it before it ends, you get that extended period. But realize, and the reason you can ask for such a long one, I have students who have had 45-day inspection periods, is because if that seller is motivated, or they're a direct seller, a lot of times there isn't a lot of competition. Sorry. So it's easier to get those contracts accepted. Also, a lot of these guys aren't really thinking about, you know, some of these red flags that let's say listing agent, when you're working on listed property, see. So if you're dealing with a listing agent, they know about real estate, they might even know about flipping or whatever, but they also want to make sure you're going to close. And if you have these long inspection periods, you might be less likely to close. They know it's not a solid thing, so you're less likely to get that contract. So there's this inverse relationship between you getting the contract accepted and your inspection period. There are other things too. So for example, if I tell my students, if you're dealing with a direct seller, make the contract assignable. It's easier to sell. And you still could, if you get like a ridiculously high, let's say, spread, you could still double close and you don't have to do the assignment, right? But it gives you the option, so it's a lot better. But if you're dealing with like a listed property or something where there's a lot of competition, you know, the assignment can be a red flag that you might not close. So anything that's any kind of doubt, it's like these little increments that increase or decrease your chance of getting the contract by 1 or 2%. So basically, if you and I both have the exact same offer and my contract's assignable and yours is not, you're going to get that deal. If we have the same exact contract and you need a 20-day inspection period and I need a 5-day inspection period, you know, I'm more likely to get it. But again, it's easier to sell, and it's it's better for you as a wholesaler if you have more time in your inspection period. But on the flip side, the longer period you ask for, the less likely you are to get the contract, especially if it's listed or there's a lot of competition. So my default for anything listed is 7-day inspection period. Like I said, you can always go back and ask for an extension, but that's a good place to start. It's pretty reasonable. It's a little bit lower than standard. A lot of people ask for 10 days. Like if you get a short sale, a lot of those come with an addendum that gives you an automatic 10-day inspection or something like that. So 7 is competitive enough. But, because I have an established buyers list and stuff, if I send it to my buyers and I don't get a hit within 7 days, I know I'm either too high or something I'm just not going to be able to sell for, for whatever reason. All right, let's go to Insta. Troy, what up, man? Let's see. What's the best way to work with real estate agents when putting in an offer with properties on the MLS? It's a lot of cash buyers that won't purchase properties that's on market. All right, so shout out to Jessica. Let me just wave. I have not seen this lady since high school, but she is an amazing comedian, and I would love to see her live one day. It's been a good almost 20 years, but hi. All right, so question. Okay, a lot of cash buyers that won't purchase properties on the market. I believe this is something that's said. I see it on forums. I hear about it. I see it in videos. I don't think that shit is true at all. I think that's what you hear in some old school Carlton Sheets stuff. Direct is the best, because typically, yes, when I'm working direct with the seller, those are typically my best deals in terms of spread, in terms of profit. But the fact is, this whole concept of end buyers that won't purchase properties that are on the MLS. If you're asking for higher than the listed price, then yes, I agree with that. But let's say if a property is, listed at 100, you make the offer, get it at 70, and then advertise it at 80. They look it up. They see you have it for 80, and they have it, and it's listed for 100, and it's a deal. It makes sense. They can make money. They'll take that. So the only people who I find really ask me and stress about this off-market deals is, number one, other wholesalers that hit me up and try to pretend to be cash buyers and ask me for off-market deals. Or sometimes, it could be people who are just tired of, I advertise on my own stuff. So some people, everyone shares properties a lot down here in South Florida. It's not a bad thing, but some people just don't like seeing the same shit come through all the time. So I get that. And then also it's, sometimes I just label those people as very much amateur, because here's the thing. When I go to my buyer, and put yourself in this position, you're a cash buyer. You say, hey, Mike, I need a deal that I can make, let's say $50,000 on, and only needs 3 months of work. If I call you and I say, hey, Joe, I got a deal under contract. I looked at the numbers. You can make $50,000 on it. Go take a look. Are you going to be like, well, is it off market? It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, my buyers don't care where my deals come from. They really don't give a shit. They just want to know, does the deal make sense? Do the numbers make sense? If the numbers make sense, they're going to do the deal, right? So that's a part of it. Now, the thing about making offers on the MLS, you're going to have to do that in volume. Like a lot. But what I talked about before, man, what happens is a lot of my new students or people who quit, I mean, that's just a reality of a lot of people just quit way too early. The fact of the matter is they make 20 phone calls, they get rejected every time, and then they just can't handle it, and then they quit. But what I remember what I said earlier, I use this a lot, so you guys probably heard this before, but look, 100 phone calls. When I say you make 100 calls or 100 offers, oh, like it sounds intimidating, right? But let's say if you break it down, 20 calls a day, if each call maybe takes you 3 minutes, that's 1 hour. If it takes you a little longer, fine. If you're using a CRM and you can automate, you could send your contracts, it's all filled out, your templates are set up. You can send 20 contracts in 2 to 5 minutes, right? If you want to have conversations, 1 hour. You do that every single day for 5 days. That's 100, right? 99 times you could get rejected. Now, obviously, you got to be in a market with this demand. So I'm in South Florida. It's going to be bomb markets out there. California, Phoenix, New York, different places. Even Alabama, I was surprised. There's some students doing deals out there. Okay, so you get rejected 99 times. You only need one deal. Like I said, you can make those 100 calls in 1 week. If you can make one deal and make 10K in 1 month, again, you're a 6-figure earner. Right? So you just got to stick with it, and you really got to hit volume. The other piece of advice I could give you is always follow up. Like, shit goes under contract, it's pending. Almost all my deals that come from the MLS, they don't get accepted the very first time I make the offer. Or a lot of times I get it under contract at a price that I know is a little bit too high, and then I negotiate down during my inspection period. And you guys can see that live. I got a video, just one of the more recent ones. I walk you through those steps, how I made 10K in whatever, like 23 hours or something. And I show you like what I offered, and how I backed it down from there and made my profit. So yeah, you make a lot of offers, and you follow up. You gotta follow up. There are times where like I will make an offer, it gets rejected. I hit the dude up, the next week, and I got another video about this. I don't remember if it's in my live group or on my YouTube, so I don't want to be repetitive. But also, so basically, it's like this: you're dealing with some of these real estate agents, and number one, okay, some other piece of advice. I know I'm all over the place, but I'll give you. Well, number one, work from a script. Like a lot of people like anti-script. It's like, dude, you don't want to be on the phone all over the place and unsure and stuttering. You're not sure. You want to sound like a boss, like you know what the fuck you're talking about. That's the shit that you really want to drive the point home. Like, I'm serious. This is the shit that I'm serious about, and you want to get to the point. A lot of times, and I ask students like, hey, my personal students, I say, record yourself on the phone with the listing agent, right? And send me a copy. And I listen to it, and I can give feedback and critique, right? So one thing I hear often, the listing agent will say something like, have you seen the property? And then it's just all of a sudden, like, they've never heard this question before. Say, dude, if you know these questions are coming, you should have an answer prepped and ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Where you could respond to that. So work from a script so you sound like a boss. We want to be framing from the beginning. A lot of times, especially new students, they come in, they put these agents up on a pedestal because they view them as the decision maker. The shit that I was talking about, when we first started the call, was basically framing it yourself as the dominant party, knowing that they'll probably benefit more from working with you than you will from them, because you could choose from hundreds of properties and stuff like that. But you want to frame yourself in the way you speak, right? So an example I gave the other day is like, you want to be able to get access to the property, right? So you could say, could I get in? Like, could you show me, is there like a box or somehow I could like see it? You talk like that, and then you're not going to get in the property. But when you say to them like, okay, great, like I really want to get this deal done, what's the lockbox? And you say with like expectancy, you're straight, direct to the point, boom. It's the way you say it that says to them, hey, this guy is not going to be some jackass who's going to go destroy his property. He's a serious investor. He knows what he's doing. And sometimes just the way you talk, man, it just kicks in like, oh, I'm supposed to respond to this, and they'll just blurt it out. They just give it to you a lot of times, right? So that's another one, is really practice. And a lot of this stuff the competency comes from just doing this shit over and over and over. You're not going to get on the phone the very first time and be smooth. I tell this story. It's my first, like second deal, but like first time dealing with a listing agent. I actually met the agent at the property in person, which actually Lex told me not to do, but I just did it. That was before I was in his mentoring program. Was when we did the boot camp. But I went there, and I remember during the talk, I was trying to frame the right way, but he asked me some stuff. He's like, yeah, so what the cap rate do you usually buy at? And like, I didn't even know what a cap rate was. I say, and I basically at the time, I just changed the subject. I was like, oh, did you see that? So it's a little ridiculous. My point is, some of this stuff will just come as you go ahead and practice and like keep doing this stuff. The competency comes by just doing this stuff over and over. So we touched on volume, the way you speak, and having a script and practicing. The other thing is your follow-up. So what happens is, number one, deals fall out all the time. So many of the stuff I initially make offers on, they're pending. And then I'll be, again, very direct with the agent. And it's like, hey, and a lot of times the way my personal style is, I like to break down that barrier where it's like uber like professional. It's a little much. And I try to make it a little bit playful. I try to make it fun. That works for me. Might not work for everybody, but it also makes agents kind of bend for you a little bit, So stuff that's usually really strict, like what they need, like I need that earnest money deposit. If you, again, you still want to be dominant, you want to be the decision maker, but if you can make it where you've built some rapport, Yeah, man, yo, I'm gonna get that earnest money deposit to you. You know how it is, whatever. They might not harass you. Again, everybody's different, so none of these rules are 100%. But a lot of times that really does help. So again, the concept is, it's not available, it's pending, whatever. You just say, hey, Joe, check this out, man. I'm really, really interested in this. You got to do me a favor. Promise me, man. Like if this falls out of contract, I'll be the first one you call. I just want to know. Okay. Is that cool? Can we do that? Can you make that commitment for me now? I got a daughter to put through college, man. She's counting on you. You call me. You want to see me successful, right? All right. Hey, I love you, man. I'll touch base with you. Is it cool if I text you on Friday about this just to follow up? Okay, cool. So what happens is when you do that, first, second, third time, they're not going to call you, even if they say they will. Most likely, they're just not going to call you. But you do that consistently 3, 4, 5 weeks. Number one, if that property comes back, they're going to call you. And then number two is if they don't do that and you keep calling, you're gonna form this relationship where even though they don't owe you something, they're gonna feel like, damn, Mike's been calling me like 3 months. I gotta get this guy something. You gotta number one, help him out because he's my boy. And number two, like I gotta get him off my back. So they'll help you. So then you're turning realtors into your bird dogs for you, but it's not some like you're just using them because you're helping them to help you because you can do repeat business with them. And so you want everything to be a win-win situation. So that's the other piece is the follow-up. And then I'll have times where, that deal falls through, but because I've built that rapport, like I said, these realtors will hit me up on other deals. Or I've had situations where, short sales, stuff like that, they'll come back 6 months and say, hey, Mike, I remember that deal we're talking about. We went through this. I made let's say, offer when the thing was not approved. And I've had agents call me back months and months later after it's been approved. Hey, we got it approved. The buyer fell through. Are you still interested? And then they come back to you. So that's the other piece. And then the final piece I'll throw in before I get to some other questions on the MLS stuff is do not tell people that you are wholesaling, right? It's a huge red flag because especially a lot of agents kind of been burned by wholesalers before. So you don't want to mention that, but really it's like none of their business. The way you're looking at it, if you can get the property at the right price and it makes sense, a lot of times you're double closing, you're using transactional funding. So you are buying, you know what I'm saying? You might be buying with somebody else's money, but that's how a lot of real cash buyers are using hard money anyway. So you're buying, you're going to own it. Whether you resell that house 5 minutes after closing or 15 minutes after closing is nobody's business. You know what I'm saying? It really, it's none of their business. So you don't want to tell them. That's just a huge red flag. And that's how a good way for you to not get any offers accepted. So of the scattered, let's just try to recap some of that. So it's basically make a lot of offers, make them in volume, follow up consistently over and over, build some rapport, practice and have a script to work from. Also keep in mind that calls are inquiries. Those are good. They will help you get deals, but those are not offers. If you want to get deals accepted, you have to send out written offers on a contract with your signature. That's a written offer. And then don't tell people that you're going to be assigning flipping the contract. And some people don't even understand what you're doing. So it's just a huge red flag. Like, just don't do it. All right. All right, I have a property. This is from Home Investment Pros. I have a property under contract, but the house is ransacked. The seller's belongings still in the property. Could I still sell it? Probably need to know a little bit more about the property. Like, is this something like in probate? The seller's passed away or something like that. But these ransacked deals, I don't know if it's vacant or whatever, but dude, those are like the best deals. Like stuff that's ugly. Sometimes I have students, they're sending me all this pretty stuff. I'm like, dude, you want the stuff with the holes in the roof, with the mold on the wall, with the, looking like shit. That's how people make their money, is by rehabbing these things. So those are great deals. A lot of times as wholesalers, we overthink things. I have students who ask me about like taxes and stuff that happens after the fact. And, a lot of, in some cases it is relevant, but in majority of times you need to be focused on getting the contract and then finding a buyer. Everything else from liens and taxes and title work, you figure it out as you go. Sometimes in that situation, again, I don't know the specifics, but that might end up being the end buyer's thing. So for example, if it's like a tenant situation and there's a lease there, then yeah, if that new buyer, you can still sell the property to new buyer. Now that new buyer has to honor the lease, or they can try to incentivize the person to get out. Or if it's month to month, they can just give them 30-day notice. Or if they're not paying, they deal with the eviction. But there's a whole different bunch of stuff that can happen there. But that's not really your concern. It's not your problem. Um, listing agents send you comps, but the comps are far from homes in the same condition, not clear. Yeah, listing agents, think about it. They have a vested interest in the property. So they're always going to send you the highest comps. They're trying to sell it. They want to show you the potential. So you just have to do your due diligence. I say the same thing. So all my real buyers know that they have to do their due diligence. I always tell them that, and it says it as a disclaimer at the bottom of my email. A lot of time I get other wholesalers, people in a JV, and they're like, hey, what's the repair estimates? I don't give repair estimates because I might tell you, you know, the stuff I do know. I'm not trying to hide anything. But any real buyer, you know, who's going to buy this cash, they're going to want to go in there for the most part. I have buyers who buy stuff sight unseen, but then they ask for pictures and stuff like that. But for the most part, a buyer needs to know their own numbers. And I'm not going to have a GC go in there and pay for an inspection or something like that and then give them a $20,000 estimate when they might have only thought it was 10, you know, and then, yeah. So again, expect that. You got to do your own due diligence, and then you can say, you know, you make your offer. It shouldn't be based on that person's. And if you have, you know, evidence showing to the contrary, you can say, yeah, but these are not in the same subdivision. These are not built in the same year. Here is the comps I'm looking at. This is what makes a lot more sense. And then you could just make a case for, you know, why your lower offer should be accepted. And then when you follow up, and it's been 30 days and that property didn't sell, you hit them up and you say, hey, you sell that yet? Yeah, I didn't think so. You want to talk now? Sorry, it's coughed in the microphone. It's probably uncomfortable. How do you talk to a homeowner without credibility and get them to trust you, being a newbie? So again, I think part of this is having a script. And when I say script too, it's like you can deviate from the script, but there's certain things you just need to know. Like, don't just go in there and just, you know, talk about shit that, because you need to know certain things. You need to know, it's when you're dealing with a direct seller, people always ask me about comps. That's secondary to me. When I'm talking to a direct seller, I don't even give a shit about comps. I need to know what their motivation is, why they're moving. I need to know if there's a mortgage balance, and I need to know what's the lowest price they're going to take for that property. And I asked them very directly, and the point is I asked them very much expectantly. So, you know, and that, you know, it could be a probate. They might not even know what the property's worth. And they might be, you know, you worried about all these ARV and formulas and stuff like that. And then they might be willing to sell it to you for 40, 50%, right? So you got to be on your focus on those questions that you need. But what I would say, you know, everybody's a little bit different. I find that empathy goes a long way, especially if you're dealing with like probate or something like that. You don't need to be fake, like this was like your uncle that passed away, but you do want to be like a human being and empathetic. The other thing I'll say, if you're a newbie, speed really works. A lot of wholesalers, they just don't operate with any sense of urgency. So, you know, there are times where I've seen wholesalers advertise deals and I'm like, I have a buyer for that deal. Like, I know someone who will take it immediately. I know someone who will sign that contract today. I call them, I text them, I send them an email. These guys don't respond to me. I do that the next day, the next day, the next day. The fifth day, they respond to me. Same, I was having a conversation with a student of mine maybe 2 weeks ago, and week ago, something like that. And he was concerned because he visited a motivated seller with a stack of letters. I said, dude, if someone's motivated, they have a stack of letters and they call the first person doesn't answer, the second one doesn't answer, the third one doesn't answer, be the guy that answers. Just answer your phone. Or if it comes into your text message, just make sure you call them right back, which is why you should have a separate phone number just for leads. You know what I'm saying? So that way, when you get an automated text message, email, whatever, you know that's a lead, and that should all your, you know, if you're feeding your kid, you, hey, you know, I'll come back to feed you, and you like all your attention needs to shift to that. So, and then also what I was saying, empathy. And then also people don't want to feel like a number in your business. And I don't treat people like that anyway. Like, you should treat people for the human beings that they are. Also, most people like to talk about themselves. Most people like to talk about their situation. If someone's motivated, which is what you're looking for, remember, we're not in like the marketing game. Oh shit. Guys, apparently you can only do this for like an hour. So we have 20 seconds remaining. I'll shoot you guys an email. Check the YouTube channel. And these are great questions. I'll try to answer some of these in my videos as well. This is like great ideas for videos. But I'm going to be doing this 7 o'clock next week. I'm going to shoot for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Might even be able to do all 5 days, but I really enjoyed this. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I don't know, some of us, some things are still live. But yeah, I'll definitely be back, and I'll try to answer some more of these questions. Thank you guys for joining so much. And yeah, I guess I'll be talking to y'all soon. All right. Peace.